ostensibly this video is meant to be about the Cross RC EMO X3, which is the tow truck. Brilliant car, but you see, before it got onto camera, I went and put over 1 kilogram of brass on the axles and heavy housings because I wanted it to tow better. But then I took it out to the dam with a bunch of people and I was jumping that thing because I also put it on brushless. I was getting, no exaggeration, about a meter or even more than a meter of air at times. And I might have done a bit more damage than I quite realized until I took it out again for the review. So if you're interested in the EMO X3, its handling is really similar to the Cross RC EMO. Just watching a dog knock a child over here. You right? All right. So if you want to see what the EMO X handles like, that's here. But now we're also going to look at the MJX Allrock H8H, another 1/8 scale, and I've got a surprise guest for you on this video. We're going to introduce somebody to rock crawling who's right into lots of other RC but never quite got crawling before. Expect a bunch of different sound on this video because we've had a bunch of different cameras, but it should be a fun one. Stick around, let me show you what I've been up to this week. Well, today I've got a review with a difference for you. We're going to look at the Cross RC EMO X3, which is a successor to the EMO X that we looked at a while ago. The X2 came out, the X3 then came out, which is still a recent release. And now, as I film this in late June 2024, the X4 has come out. And that's actually a gladiator looking thing, which is pretty cool. But today we're going to look at the Cross RC EMO X3. Now you might recall that we looked at the EMO X on the channel and it wasn't terribly long ago. And at first glance you might think, well, the main difference is the towing setup and my 3D printed rig on the back. But there's actually quite a bit more going on underneath these cars than initially meets the eye. This is more of a basic body with the Lexan, more of a standard Lexan cab, whereas you've got a lot more plastic trim on the EMO X. But remember, this was the first one they brought out and they kind of went to town adding some extra bits and pieces. It is actually the same electronics out of the box. The 25 kilo 7.4 volt servo. It's got a full light kit. It's a 25 turn 760 brushed motor, front and rear diff lock, high and low speed. So the new one has the same kind of setup as the old one. But the difference is on this one, I've also spent at least 4 hours already running this thing at the dam at Barringhup in Victoria. And this thing now goes entirely too fast. The last thing I'll point you out here is that it comes with body clips underneath, whereas this thing has a very nifty latch setup. So you see the mounts here, they don't have any holes for pins. Gosh, she's heavy now. And that is because we got these little latches back there that secure. There's left and right back there. And then the front one is just here. You kind of rotate the thing and it locks it in. So that makes it very easy to remove. The lights on the body here connect with a JST plug. On the new one, they connect with this much more complex cable. And that's because we've got a flashing light setup, plus regular headlights and high beams. And we also have tail lights and brake lights in the rear, which is very clever. Now the EMO X came with this Dumbo RC radio that gave you lights, gears, diff lock, came with a lanyard. The new one is the same, but it has extra buttons here. Instead of being lights and high and low, we've got in and out for this fella here. And it's usually just a dangling hook, but I've 3D printed a gate so that we can auto tow. More on that in a minute. This is not actually used, but you could use that as a winch. The channel is actually free inside the radio box. And incidentally, it came with Velcro on top, and that's where the original ESC was, which was the Hobbywing 760, it's a dual ESC, but it was just for the big 760 motor. Otherwise, things are the same here. So diff lock's still the same, single button for cycling through lights. This guy has high and low, with no center position, whereas that was just a button. And yeah, you could use that for a winch. 4 AA's, nice feel in the hand, good radio, I like it. So what's different about this thing? Certainly there's a lot in common, from the side rails to the wheelbase, drive shafts and axles. This is actually a good thing as far as modifications go. I think on the X3 the towing setup is clearly the main feature. And this is just a little thing, but this checker plate, although it's a kind of tinny metal, it's not sticky. It's not sharp on the edges like some of them seem to be, which is really good. The mirrors aren't as nice on this as on the EMO X. The wipers aren't as nice on this one as on the EMO X. And in fact, you might say the plastics on the body all around aren't as nice as on the EMO X. That thing is a solid machine. But there's still a lot in common here. Now check out these wheels. Remembering this thing's been to hell and back. I mean, I abused this car a few weeks ago in a way that most of my crawlers have not been abused. Note the wear and scuff marks. It was so bad I had to take cutters out and just cut off the hairy bits of plastic, because this thing, honestly, it had such a tough day in the office. Now, tyres are different. I don't mind them, I don't mind these. Neither of them are brilliant, but neither of them are bad. They're both sealed, they're not vented. Oh, there is a bit of venting in that, there shouldn't be. Most of them, they seem to be sealed. There's no psh, psh, psh when you squeeze them. Wheels are the same, which is also not a bad thing, and it's a standard hex nut and a bolt underneath these wheel caps. The track is the same as well. Underneath, they are really, really similar, but you need to look past the brass that I added and the metal axles that came with these housings. I got these from AliExpress, these extras. They weren't a heck of a lot of money, and they're fully compatible with the EMO X and the EMO X2 as far as I know. I don't know about the newly released EMO X4, but certainly the 3 and the 1 are compatible. I've added a silly amount of mass to these things. In their stock form, they're still completely fine, quite capable, but I've added the weight not actually to help it with crawling necessarily, but because it's a tow machine, and you want the towing machine to be heavier than what it's trying to tow. And that is an important distinction. So that's what I've done. Now note also the bumper, to get that lovely square look, is less crawler friendly than the small comp style bumper on the EMO X. That's quite okay. Skid is the same. Both of these have plenty of scuff marks and use on them. This thing has been jumped and abused in a way that this one just hasn't. But they're both heavy rigs. The suspension's very nice. Aluminium shocks, well damped out of the box. High and low speeds engage beautifully. The diff locks engage beautifully. Overall, they're both very nice models. I would suggest that if you like the idea of towing, obviously the X3 is a beaut. This doesn't really get in the way. It doesn't really affect the rig. So if you just like how it looks, it's not a bad option, is it? This thing is more your classic Jeep trailing option, and you know, given they both have interiors with driver, you know, the wheel wells are done. They're a very complete model, both of them. The light kit on the X3, however, is more complete, and we're going to see that when it's running. Got flashing lights and stuff in the front. Gosh, it's heavy with all that brass. I'll tell you what, I really have just done it for towing, and I think it actually has made it crawl worse. So why did I change all this before I showed you the thing on camera? That's a good question. The reason I did that is because I wanted to take this out on a trail day and really give this thing some hard use and abuse. As much as it's fun driving this one around, I really wanted to see what this was made of. Now, the Watts linkage on the back of this guy, I don't know how much it actually does, but it was kind of cool. This one did come with a Watts linkage, but I didn't get this on camera, unfortunately. I was jumping this thing more than a meter in the air. It's quite fast now with the 2-speed on brushless. It's the Hobbywing Axe system I'm using, and my goodness did we give that thing the berries. Now the original power system takes 2 and 3S. The new one that I've put in also takes 2 or 3S, being a Hobbywing Axe. I'm using the biggest battery that fits in this. It's a 6000 mAh 3S brick from Z. I like these batteries. I charged it on the Sky RC D200 Neo, which lets you do AC and DC, 400 watts AC, and 10 to 30 volts, 800 watts on DC. Quite good. And has a USB output, and it also lets you feed the discharge out to the big discharges that they have, which is very nice, a 40 amp job. Now this big battery doesn't fit in here. The layout here gives you just a little bit more room, and it's mainly because of this crossbar. The battery would actually fit, but for the crossbar in the other one. As it is, it's actually quite tight, but it does go in. So today we're going to meet up with a friend and we're going to go for a drive. And I can't wait to see how it goes. Let's do it. So it's not just going to be about the truck today. I've also got Vass here from Aussie RC Playground. G'day, Vass.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. You?
Good, good.
Now, we are both local to this place, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're only 5 minutes away from each other, by the sounds of it.
So I've been watching you for, I think, maybe as long as 13 years?
Well, I've only been on the platform for 12, so if you've been watching me for 13, it's a little bit weird.
I've been watching on my computer screen for, yeah, more recently. Let's go with that. Yeah, and I know that fast stuff is usually what you do.
Yeah, so most of what I do is basher orientated, so buggies, monster trucks, short course trucks, that type of thing. I do some speed cars as well. I've done some boats. And of course I do have a second channel where I focus on planes. So I've done a bit of everything, even dabbled into FPV drones at one point.
Yeah, right.
So I've done it all, been there, done that. Well, we're here today because we're going to be running a couple of cars. You've got one from Cross RC, which I've picked it up before, and if you haven't been to the gym lately, you probably strain a muscle. This thing is heavy.
It has been brassed up there, to be fair.
So and it looks clean. Like I'm assuming that some of it hasn't been used all that much, or?
You guys can't see from here, but Vass can see this from here.
Oh, this is some scuffs. I'm doing it because my basher cars don't look that clean.
I spent about 3 hours on this yesterday, getting it ready for the camera.
Okay.
It was so bad. This is
okay, I can see all the scuffs, so it has been used quite a bit.
It's had about 4 hours.
Okay.
At this mass, which is
which is heavy.
It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. It had about 4 hours out the dam at Barring Hub.
And you've also got 3D printed parts.
I've got a 3D printed auto lift, but it does come with the boom. But this thing had about 4 hours of, we're talking heavy bashing. It's done like air up to about your chest height, multiple times. There's only one breakage out of all that, and like it had 12 amps run through it at 3S. If you look at the back, underneath, I had a Watts linkage here as well.
Oh yeah,
which is what yours has.
Yes, I can see that snapped off there.
Landed on a bad landing, but I was jumping on rocks like this.
Okay. No, fair call. So well, you've done a good job of cleaning it. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
So hats off to you.
So that's what brought me here. But I saw Vass, you had a 1/8 scale as well, which is what made me say, hey, let's hang out.
Yeah. So
tell me about what you got.
This bad boy. This is from MJX. This is the Allrock from MJX, which is a new release. And I was fortunate enough to get my hands on this one, which comes, I think, pretty well equipped from a non-crawler guy. I think they've actually got some good features on here. And you've pointed out that feature at the back that I didn't know about.
Watts linkages.
The Watts linkages. So that's a really cool thing to see that you've got that on a much more expensive model as well. You had that. But yeah, so this is a really interesting car. It's big, and it's got 2 speeds, it's got lights already on it.
Diff locks, right?
Diff locks
like
that you can turn on and off quite easily as well. The ESC comes with an app, so you can just change out the settings of the ESC on the fly, which is really cool. So yeah, we'll see how this performs out here today.
Absolutely.
All right, Craig. So what we're planning to do today is you're going to drive your truck along this course over here that you've marked out, and this is a course that you've done before, right?
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
I try
this one?
and make them different every time.
Something a little bit different?
Yeah.
So you're going to drive yours, then I'm going to see if I can drive mine through the same course, and if I get stuck or mess up, then you can take the wheel off my truck.
That's perfect.
And see how your experience car is different from mine, because yeah, I can drive cars, but this is a very different thing.
Yes.
Not slightly, absolutely. But it is a very different thing. All right, so go for your life. Let's see what happens.
Same driver is a great idea, Vass. So in a comp, usually what happens is you want to get through. I just remembered how heavy this car is. You want to get through the gates cleanly, and I've just disabled diff lock. Although this weight is.
You're already struggling, mate. What's going on?
Here we go. No, hang on, we're not locked. Oh dear, hang on.
Your diff not locking?
No, it's worse than that.
Or you've stripped something?
Yeah, I've got a broken car.
You got a broken car? No!
So this is my Cross RC EMO X3. No, I didn't show you guys last time. I had that thing out jumping. We were doing like over 1 meter jumps with this thing with all that brass. I broke the Watts linkage, which this has incidentally. That's like a sway bar, that pivoting bar at the back.
That's right there, yeah.
Ah,
Careful.
I meant to do that.
Safety first.
And
Safety first, kids.
I thought that was all I snapped, but as it turns out, I snapped the rear axle as well, and I know the landing that happened. So here's what I thought we might do instead. Well, what we thought we might do is both drive the course. We'll see how we both drive. Vas gets to learn something about crawlers, because I'm the crawler guy, and I get to learn something about this car, because I've never seen it before.
Yep.
Let's see.
Let's see how you go.
As I drive, I'll tell you all about it.
We are live.
Sweet as. All right, so I've just started a stopwatch, and you guys can see this on the video time. We usually have 6 minutes for this. Now,
6 minutes.
To steer, I'm going to actually unlock the rear, because it's going to let me steer more tightly, because we're right near that gap. And remember when we were talking before, I said those foams are really soft. I'm locking again now. I wish this locking was in a different position. I wish it was like here or something, because I've got to always have a finger up there.
Oh, okay.
Another tip is you always keep the front locked. You almost never need to unlock the front.
Okay.
For this kind of thing. The aim of the game is to get through the gates. This is again where the foams would be nice if they were firmer. That front is just compressing, the rear is compressing. So have a look at how the rim is actually just on the ground there. That's not what we want. If we had stiffer foams, it'd just pick it up enough and then the whole front would come down. I know we just started driving, but...
Are you going to compress the springs a bit?
Yeah, I'm going to give it some preload, which is going to lift the rear body, and I'm going to add about 7 mil, about that much.
Okay.
And the reason for that is on a crawler, a heavy crawler like this, especially with a spare wheel and everything, we really want that suspension to help work the car up over a problem. When it's too soft, the whole thing's just going to roll. I want the front soft. So the idea is to get through the gates clean, which means don't touch either gate. I'm steering uphill now to help it pull upwards. Just like on a boat, you'd aim for the wave. So that was a clean pass, so we got progress there. The way we score our comps, Vas, is I'm just going to unlock again because I want to come around.
Yep.
Every time you reverse is 1 point.
Right.
So here's a point. Every time you go through, and incidentally, this is just forward and reverse, there's no brake on this, which is fine for a crawler. Every time you go through a gate, it's -2, and you want as low as possible. And in a 6-minute time limit, we also have bonus gates, but I haven't included them today. So I'm going to unlock again.
So what happens if you tip over?
That's called a rollover, which is 5 points. So everything has points, right?
Right. So if you have to call on the hand of God, as they call it.
Oh, that's a touch. If it's rolled over like this is legal, as long as I can drive it.
Okay.
If I can't drive it, I've got to pick it up and put it back at the last gate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you basically pay for every mistake. And although the technical side of this stuff can actually seem kind of boring, especially if you're used to just sending it, there is satisfaction to be found in a good drive, you know, a drive well done. A clean finish feels really good on comp day. We can pause if you want to come up.
Are you going from here?
All right, so now we're up to gate 5, and I've just taken a few seconds off because we stopped to adjust the preload. Usually you wouldn't, but... So we're coming up to 3 minutes now, so we're halfway through the course. Another statement I'll make is the steering angle on this car is not great. Okay. I'm just going to stop time again and have a look at something else because we're reviewing this car as well. I see universals here in the front. That's actually really preferable, having unis, because although the downside of unis is you get that fast, slow motion when it's rotating, the upside is it can go so much further than something like a CVD, a constant velocity joint.
Right.
These should be able to actually go even further. And you see these little, I'll see if I can get the sun on it. You see that little block there, that like the stop, the end point for the steering? If this was my car, I'd take a pair of snips and I'd snip that off.
Oh, to give you a little bit more steering.
You bet, because the unis will take it. And it needs it because we're crawling. So that's always beneficial. All right, time's back on. We're at, we're on 3 minutes now. So there's gate 6. In a comp, we'd also have 3 bonus gates to get through. They're optional. And if you don't finish the whole course, you don't get your bonuses. So there's 7. It looks good working over the rocks. That suspension works nice. The tires are gripping nicely. This is the upside of those really soft foams. Gosh, look at this awful steering. Here's another reverse. Being unlocked, you see I'm unlocked there. It was actually able to stop so I could reverse around. Whenever you're turning, you're unlocking basically. It helps a lot. I've got to reverse again so I don't touch this gate. That costs you 10 points to touch it and 1 point to reverse. Now the bumper's touchy.
This is where it gets touchy.
Yeah, so we're steering into it and that'll hopefully save it. Again, I wish I had firmer foams here, but sometimes there's no other option but to hit a gate, but we'll see.
Can you do it?
Yeah, I wish the servo was a little faster. It's a budget truck, so like for what it is, it's a budget truck, so it's acceptable. And you saw I kind of massaged it to kind of pull it through.
Yep.
That helps a lot. For anyone who doesn't know me, I also run Melbourne Comp Crawlers. I've got a few great guys underneath me. And we run events every second month in and around Melbourne. And we've just come back from the Nationals and I took first place nationally for this class of car, but in 110 scale. So if you're, just to reassure you, you're getting good advice here. I do know what I'm talking about. I've just locked the rear for this final one. Yeah, I am, and here's gate 10.
Okay.
I haven't been watching the time because we're making a video. We haven't touched a single gate. There's a stop at whatever it was, 4 minutes 40, so that's a good clean run. That's how you run a comp course.
Okay.
Your turn.
Oh, great, yeah. All right, so Craig, what did you think of the MJX Allrock?
Do we have a price for Australia yet? Do we know?
A price for Australia, yeah.
Yeah, we do have a price.
It is going to be about $750.
Okay, so for $750, and I'm assuming that's going to be somewhere around $499 US landed, who knows?
Yeah.
For that kind of money?
Is it a good starting platform? Let's start with that. Is this something that you could see yourself recommending to somebody that, like myself, who perhaps wants to just dip your toes in, have a bit of a go without outlaying an enormous amount of money?
It's a difficult question to answer, Vas, partly because it's never been a better time to be in RC.
Right.
There's so much more choice today than there ever was, and what you get for your money is undoubtedly good. I keep
But
yeah.
...
Anyone who watches my channel knows I don't pull punches on this stuff. The reason I started with the price is because that's really important to frame what we think of a car before we say the bad, if there's bad. I keep coming back to the Yikong YK4106, which is a 1/10 scale. So the reason I keep coming back to that is that it is just over half price of this. And at 1/10 scale, it has the same features plus that rear tank turn. But I would recommend neither that nor this as a starting crawler. I was just trying to think before, who would I recommend this to? This is going to be good if you know you like crawling and if you're already interested in it, especially if you are coming, as a lot of guys do, coming from the like the 124 scale stuff, because that's really popular and you're thinking, gee, I'd like to have something bigger to run with the guys. This will run with the guys, no question about it. I would recommend that you keep some budget ready, as much as I don't like waste. And again, if you watch my channel, you'll know I'm very reluctant to recommend any upgrades unless they're really needed. I'd say use this servo till it dies, but expect it to die. It was slow and I noticed a little bit of fade near the end there, but that is somewhat masked by this servo saver, this hydraulic kind of servo saver thing. The first thing you'd want to do is get some foams in there. Now these tires are glued to the rim. Most cars these days come with beadlocks, even plastic beadlocks, and if you want...
that allows you to kind of change foams or change tires and gives you a bit more versatility in that way. Going with something like this, you're going to be forced to kind of get new wheels and tires.
Almost. I was going to say, look, if you have access to 3D printing, there are plenty of good 3D printable beadlock wheels for free, you will find. I also have developed foams that would fit in this, like anti-foam type things that I release for free on my website. It's just, if you're going to drive this car and get some satisfaction out of crawling it, it's the first thing you're going to need. Now you can actually pull the tires off this. It might be worth doing. Just
with acetone or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll find
that one's already coming unglued.
Sometimes you get a little.
What have you got to say for yourself?
So after time with some use, you'll find these often do start to come off. And if you've never put a tire on a wheel like this before, just super glue will actually do the job, which is why you said acetone, because it will break down that chemical bond.
Oh wow, another one's coming off here. Look at that.
I often find that these will pull off with time anyway. It's not hard to fix that if you want to put it back. A little bit of super glue in the bead and just press it in and you're good, right? So I usually start with the bad because it's just important to keep that in mind. We're not here to be salesmen. We're here to talk about what we love, right? So that's the bad out of the way. The good is all the good stuff you just said. The Watts linkage, I I question whether it's actually useful, but if that's my only nitpick, it's really all I'm doing. I'm just nitpicking.
Yeah.
The rest of it being, okay, full stainless. Now, you may not know to say this, but these are big diameter stainless links, top and bottom. I see stainless steel ball ends as well in the rod ends. That's a big deal. A lot of cheaper cars, even though I know this isn't cheap, a lot of cars on the budget end in any niche will go to plastic ball ends,
yeah.
and this kind of thing. The diff locks are captured. Sometimes they'll have external mechanisms that break. The plastic is a nice bendy plastic. Now, I'm not too hot on the shocks, the way they move or don't move in the rear, but you could probably strip them down, rebuild them. Okay, so I think after thinking about it, talking to you, I've worked out who this is for. If it's going to be your first crawler, do it. Buy it because you want to trail with it. If you want to do more serious crawling, there are probably better options. But keeping the value, the cost of this thing in mind, yeah, you could also do a heck of a lot worse. I like the car overall.
And it's a large scale, and it's a large scale car. It's not your typical 10 scale.
It's a good couple $100 less than the Cross RC that we were driving. It's similar money, I think, to the Red Cat Marksman, and the Marksman has body roll like you wouldn't believe. This is better set up than the Marksman. Yeah, look, I like it. I'd give it about a. I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. As long as you keep in mind the shortcomings of it, I think you'll be very happy. As long as you know what you're getting, that's great. Now, the other thing to talk about is just very briefly the radio.
The radio, yep.
It's comfortable in the hand. At first, I wasn't sure about this diff lock being like you're not usually going to touch that front when you're driving, but the rear.
It's right there. It's right above the wheel, so you can get used to it just being there. Yeah.
I do prefer them down here, but look, the other thing you could do is probably change those around depending on the plugs on the radio. My thing is, Vas, I know we just met today. I always say, stick with the car. If you're going to buy the car, plan to use the car.
Yeah.
We don't want extra waste if we can help it. And look, you and I both have a lot of cars, like a lot of cars between us. As far as a cheap, ready-to-run radio goes, I rate it. I like it. It feels good in the hand. It's got that one-hand reach. The wheel has a nice spring. This is actually a nice light throttle. It's got full range. And one other thing to say about a cheap car is that it didn't feel flighty. I never felt like I wasn't in control.
Okay.
And so for me, here's my final say on this. I do tend to ramble when I get excited. This 3690 1500 kV motor, censored brushless, is an absolute peach. This might be my favorite motor in any ready-to-run car short of the SCX6.
Okay. Well, that's a big plug.
It's an amazing motor.
That's a big plug.
The gears are all steel. I did have a quick, cheeky look while we were packing up there before. We've got all steel gears throughout. Yep, no, I'm standing by my 6, and in fact, it's a stronger 6 out of 10. I like it.
All right, excellent. Now that's a good wrap. That's very good as far as giving this thing a bit of a score and a bit of an overall review, because it's actually worked out well that your cars weren't working, because it's given us a chance for both of us to drive this through that course and really see where it struggled, where it didn't. Yeah. And also get me a feel of what it's like to run a crawler course, which I've never done before. So that was pretty entertaining. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. No, that's good.
No, excellent. So we'll wrap it up here.
Where can people find this?
Well, I think you'll be able to find this online. I think Frontline Hobbies will have these available for about $750, I think, $749, something like that. So,
do you know the USA, for the USA folks, where they might be able to find it? Any idea yet?
In the US, I don't know. In the US,
description job for us later.
Yeah, we might put something in the pinned comment or something like that, or in the description for sure. Right. Yeah.
And one last thing I wanted to say was, Vas, Aussie RC Playground, Craig, RC-TNT. We are both going to go and make some videos from today. So whoever you're watching, be sure to check the description so you can see. It'll be a different video from both of us, and you'll get different footage and hopefully a different point of view.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say smash the like button, whoever you're watching. Thank you so much for your time, and
cheers,
mate. It was great to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
Cheers.
Thank you.
I'll catch you next time, Vas.
See ya.
See ya. You can reverse through a gate too, as long as it's in the right direction. What's that over there? I thought I saw an amazing duck. No.
Oh, was there a duck there?
Vas, you fixed it.
Yeah. Man, you should have seen it. Uh-oh.